we go. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. Whoa, what a show we got for you guys tonight. First of all, it's NFL Draft Night, which is one of the best nights of the sports year. Aaron Rodgers, as I'm going to lead my show off with in just a second, he wants out of Green Bay. And on this show a year ago, I said he's going to want out of Green Bay, but I thought it'd be in 2022. I thought it'd be a year from now. Apparently, it's all come full circle. He wants out now. I'll get to that in just a second. Also, rumors are speculating that Jimmy G could be traded tonight back to New England from San Francisco, as it appears the 49ers are going to take Mac Jones, go ahead and move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll talk about that as well. Also, a little NBA topic. Dr. J, one of the 20 greatest basketball players of all time, left LeBron James off his two greatest teams of all time. He gave his best team of the greatest players, his second best team, and LeBron didn't make either. I'll react to that later in the show. But here we go with the NFL Draft, which, of course, is tonight at 8 o'clock. By the way, I'm going to be on a good friend of mine, Ryan Flowers' show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, to do the drafts, to react to each draft pick. So it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. But leave it to the NFL, man, to give you some crazy stories on draft day. It's not like this was going to be a slow news day. So Adam Schefter, NFL insider for ESPN, tweeted earlier today, about 3 hours ago or so, reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers is so disgruntled with the Green Bay Packers that he has told some within the organization that he does not want to return to the team, league and team sources told ESPN on Thursday. So, there you go. League and team sources. And Adam went on to, I was watching NFL Live today when Adam Schefter was talking about this. He was saying the Packers owners flew out west to meet with Aaron Rodgers. Matt LaFleur, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, flew out to meet with Aaron Rodgers out west, and the Packers general manager flew out west to meet with Aaron Rodgers. And the message on Aaron's part was the same. Guys, I don't want to be here anymore. It's that simple. And my reaction is good for Aaron Rodgers. Good for Aaron Rodgers, because here's the thing. We're talking about a man that's won 3 MVPs. We're talking about a guy that's kept Green Bay from irrelevance for the past decade. We're talking about a guy who, under the head coach Mike McCarthy, who's now in Dallas, unfortunately, put him on his back. If you don't believe me there, look at Mike McCarthy's record in Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. Okay? Even in Dallas last year, when at least he had Dak for 5 games, it was awful. You're talking about a guy who's one of the greatest throwers of the football of all time. There's no debate. I think behind Mahomes, maybe in front of Mahomes, he's the most overall talented quarterback ever. Ever. Talking about pocket awareness, not turning the ball over, arm, accuracy. I mean, he's got it all. He's got the whole package. I have been critical of Aaron Rodgers' leadership in the past. That hasn't really changed. But the bottom line is this. For the last, 2005. Aaron Rodgers was drafted in 2005, okay? In that draft, of course, Alex Smith went number 1 overall to the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers went, I think, 21st or something like that. It was in the 20s to the Green Bay Packers. And since 2005, since Aaron Rodgers was drafted, okay, think about this. The Packers have drafted 1 skill position player in the first round. You want to know who that guy is? I'll give you a moment. Jordan Love, a quarterback last year out of Utah State. Now, I said last year I liked Jordan Love. I actually had him going to Green Bay, getting drafted by Green Bay. And at the time, I defended that pick. I'm like, okay, look, let's not freak out. If the Packers go out round 2 on and take skill position players, get some receivers to have with, Devontae Adams, right? If they were to do that, they got a great offensive line already. They already got Aaron Jones, who Green Bay smartly locked up on a long-term deal. They've got a solid, not great, but solid defense. Hey, Aaron just needs some guys to throw to outside of Devontae Adams. And we saw, by the way, in the NFC Championship game, Tampa Bay pretty much shut out Devontae Adams, and everybody else got exposed. Everybody else got exposed because Todd Bowles said, look, take away his number 1 weapon. He's got nobody else to throw to. And it was still a close game at the end. And so what did Green Bay do? What did they do? They took a running back in the second round and so on and so forth. They did not address their need. And so the way I look at it, and I know there's those out there saying, well, Aaron Rodgers is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. This is what happens when you pay a quarterback $30+ million. Hold on. Who else is Green Bay paying? Aaron Jones took a pay cut. Okay. Devontae Adams is not making a lot of money. Like Aaron is the guy, really the only high paid guy on the Green Bay Packers. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today. You're right. Tom Brady is not making what he should. Let's put it that way. But everybody else got their money. Ndamukong Suh got his money. Shaq Barrett got his money. Okay, Levante David got his money. Right? Antonio Brown's back. You look at guys like, who am I missing? The Leonard Fournette. He's back. They kept everybody. And yet, Green Bay, when J.J. Watt showed interest in going to Green Bay, he's from Wisconsin kid, man. Bring the kid home. Or he's not a kid, but bring him home, right? Give him an opportunity to win a Super Bowl in his home state. And they didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay for him. And so he went to somewhere that would pay for him, Arizona. Heck, Dallas, an organization that I don't think is poorly run, but not as well run as, say, Kansas City, New Orleans, Baltimore. Jerry is not shy. He'll pay for anybody. Now, I mean, Dak was the only exception, but eventually, Dak got paid. Zeke got paid. DeMarcus Lawrence got paid. Amari Cooper got paid. Offensive line got paid. Jalen Smith got paid. Jerry will pay anybody, right? Doesn't mean he pays the right people, but he'll pay. He'll overpay for guys. Green Bay doesn't do that. They are the epitome of, it's a small town. Green Bay is a small town, middle of the country in Wisconsin. They want to play it safe. And you know what? Green Bay for the last 3 decades have been really good. They've been really good. Been to 3 Super Bowls in that time period. They've won 2 of them, right? Favre beat the New England Patriots back in the 90s. Rodgers a decade ago beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl. They've got champion. They're called Title Town for a reason. That was mostly because they had Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr, and a great offensive line leading the show. But you get the idea. This is Title Town. This is Lombardi Avenue, Lambeau Field. And it's it. They're not aggressive. They're not aggressive. I criticize the Boston Celtics for the same thing in the NBA. Boy, they draft well. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, right? They drafted who else? They drafted Terry Rozier a couple of years ago. We see what he did in Boston. See what he's doing now in Charlotte. Like, Boston's a good drafting team. They're just not aggressive in free agency. And the one time Boston was aggressive, when they traded for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, what do you know? They won a championship and went to 2 finals in 3 years. What do you know? Same thing with Green Bay. The one time they were aggressive, going out and getting Charles Woodson, what do you know? They won the Super Bowl. It's that simple. As the old saying goes, fortune favors the bold. I've always said in this show, and people don't want to hear this, but I don't care how good you are. You do need, and it doesn't take away from how good you are. It's not a knock, but it is the truth. Every champion needs a little bit of luck. You got to have a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. Whether it's an injury to the opponent, whether it's maybe a call that goes your way, whether it's whatever. You need a little luck. But again, fortune always seems to favor the side who's aggressive, right? Look at Tampa Bay. They went out and got Tom Brady, and they're like, you know what? He's 43 years old. He's still great. But he is 43 years old. He's not going to be here long term. He's just going to be here for a few years. Let's maximize it. Let's go out and get Leonard Fournette. Let's go out and get Antonio Brown. Okay, we got the roster. We win the Super Bowl. Let's keep these guys. We're going to have to pay a lot of money. Darn right. I don't care. Or we don't care. Let's keep them together. Let's go out and chase more Super Bowls while we have Tom Brady, because once he retires, we're going to go right back to being irrelevant Tampa Bay. That's just how it is. But they're maximizing what they've got in Brady. Okay, Aaron Rodgers took over as the starter of the Green Bay Packers in 2008. Since then, they've only taken advantage of Aaron Rodgers' abilities one time. 2010, they went out and got Charles Woodson in 2009. A year ago, 2010, they won the Super Bowl, and Woodson was, of course, future Hall of Famer Charles Woodson, doing what he does, was a huge, huge part in them doing that. Like, being aggressive does pay off in the end. And this is what Aaron Rodgers is talking about. When he sees Tom Brady on the other side at the NFC Championship game, and he's thinking, okay, New England wouldn't go out and get anybody. They didn't draft well. They played it safe. And Tom Brady said, you know what? I want to go to a team that's aggressive. I want to go to a team that actually has receivers. All right, that actually has a front office. And I think New England's a good front office. They're just not aggressive. They relied on Brady to just kind of carry them for years. And eventually Brady, they had so little talent, Brady couldn't carry them. There's only so far he could go with that. And so Tom's like, I'm 43. I got to maximize what I got. He goes to Tampa Bay, which was already a good roster. They just needed a quarterback. He made them a great roster, and they added more pieces. They keep the team together, and they're the favorites to win Super Bowl 56. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, has had a top 10 defense one time in Green Bay. Once. Again, they won the Super Bowl, 2010. So anytime they've given Aaron, and I've been critical of Aaron Rodgers in the past. I don't think he's Tom. I think he's more talented than Brady, but all time, like there was this discussion, like Aaron Rodgers is greater than Tom Brady. I'm like, are you out of your mind? No, he's not. There's better talent-wise, and there's greater. Greater exceeds more than just talent. However, anytime they've given Aaron any semblance of help, they've been great. The one Super Bowl they won, they gave him the adequate help that he needed, that every quarterback needs. What do you know? They won the Super Bowl. So that's what I'm saying. Is Aaron's looking across the sideline. He's like, you know what? I'm getting older. I'm going to be 37 years old when the season starts. I don't have forever left in this league, right? I probably got the Jeopardy job, on the other side of my career. Maybe coming up soon. I've heard Aaron's actually the favorite to land the Jeopardy hosting gig, obviously in place of the late, great Alex Trebek. He did a great job, and, that's, seems to be is in his near future. He's going to get married soon, right? So he's got a lot going on in his life, and he's like, and do I really want to waste my time in Green Bay? It's not a knock on the city of Green Bay and the people there. It's, middle America. It's a small town. I'm sure the people there are great. But it has everything to do with the fact that the front office of the Packers, they just won't be aggressive. Like I said, Dallas, not even that well run of a team, but they'll be aggressive. They are going to go after free agents. They are going to pay their guys. They're going to pay their guys, right? Green Bay just let their center go. Just let them walk away. Whereas Tampa Bay is like, we got to keep everybody together. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs even. Kansas City lost, of course, we all know, missed both tackles in Super Bowl 55, and it looked like it. Mahomes was running for his life out there. I mean, just running all over the field, trying to make something happen, making, just ridiculous throws, falling to the ground. I mean, but it goes to show you any quarterback under pressure is not going to be good. The point of that is, though, what did Kansas City do? They went out and got offensive line. They went out and got Kyle Long from retirement, right? They went out and got Orlando Brown in a trade because Kansas City's like, what's a first-round pick to us? It's just the same as a high second-rounder. Like, we're great now. Let's just maximize it now. We're not worried about developing guys in the future. As long as we got Mahomes, we're going to be a contender. So put as much talent around him as we possibly can. Right? Like the Chiefs are like, hey, we're not letting Travis Kelce go. They're going to get him, they got him signed to a long-term deal. Frank Clark, we're not letting you go. We got to keep this team together. They signed Frank Clark. Chris Jones, they keep him. Pretty sure Tyreek Hill's going to get signed pretty soon. So that's what I'm saying. The key guys, they kept them. They kept them together. Green Bay, they're cheap. It's that simple. They're cheap. They're not going to go after star players in free agency. They're not going to trade for a great player. By the way, remember a few years ago when Khalil Mack was frustrated with, at the time, the Oakland Raiders, and there was a big sweepstakes, and I think Green Bay was actually the front runner. Green Bay and Oakland had calls back and forth about whether they'd land Khalil Mack. And what did Green Bay do? They let their division rival, the Chicago Bears, land Khalil Mack. And all it took, we saw what the Bears gave up. 2 first-rounders. Green Bay would not give up 2 first-rounders for one of the best defensive linemen in the National Football League. Top 5, probably. They're like, okay, whatever. Well, we're going to play it safe. Play it nice and safe. As I said on the show a couple weeks ago when I was talking about Aaron Rodgers, he did an interview on SportsCenter, In the last 30 years, the Packers have in the last 30 years, the Green Bay Packers quarterbacks, Favre and Rodgers, have won a combined 6 MVPs. They've won 2 Super Bowls in 30 years. With 2 of the 12, think about this. It doesn't work this way. The Packers had 2 of the 12 greatest quarterbacks ever. They've won, in the last 30 years, they've won 2 Super Bowls. That's on Green Bay. I'm sorry. And I've been very critical of Favre and the fact, he was a turnover machine. He was great, but my goodness, did he throw a lot of picks. Right? Aaron Rodgers, he's got everything. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think he's a great leader. But nobody's perfect. When you have that kind of talent, you're going to win games. It's up to the team at that point to put a great roster together, add depth, and make you a championship team. And the rare times Green Bay's done it, it's paid off because they had the great quarterback. That's all I'm saying. So I don't blame Aaron Rodgers in the slightest. I don't think this is like Russell Wilson, where Russell's done this twice, where he's like, back in 2018, Russ wanted a contract extension, and Seattle wouldn't really do it. So Russ is like, okay, fine. By this upcoming NFL draft, if I don't have a deal, I'm not playing another game with the Seattle Seahawks. I want out. And at the last second, Seahawks got a deal done with Russell Wilson, and he's a happy customer. Go Hawks, go Hawks, go Hawks. Then we get to this offseason, and Russ, and the one criticism I had of Russ was when he went after his offensive lineman. I didn't like that. Has he had a good offensive line in his career? Absolutely not. At least post, Marshawn Lynch. But you still, go after your teammates like that. Everything else about as far as having a voice in the organization, you're darn right Russell Wilson has a right to be frustrated. He's the greatest player in Seahawks history without a doubt. Without a doubt. Without Russell Wilson, who's the best Seahawk ever is, you could say Steve Largent, Marshawn Lynch, Richard Sherman, any of the Earl Thomas, Sean Alexander. They've had great players. I'm trying to remember the great offensive lineman they had. It's not coming to my mind at this moment. But they've had great players, but never outside of 1 year competed for a championship pre-Russell Wilson. So yeah, Russ has a right to be frustrated. But what did the Seahawks do? They went out and got offensive linemen. Okay, they brought back Geno Atkins. They brought back, not Geno Atkins. Who's the other? Carlos Dunlap. They brought back Carlos Dunlap. Excuse me. They brought back Tyler Lockett. They kept their guys and they added new ones, which is what Russ wanted. So, have we heard any rumblings out of Seattle about Russ? No. They took care of their quarterback as they should. He's your franchise quarterback. You take care of your guy. Right? I saw a tweet earlier today from Joel Clapp, who's a great analyst at Fox Sports. And he said, the Packers can't be surprised. They flirt with every girl at the party, give one of them their number, Jordan Love, and now wifey is peed off. Shocking, right? Like if you're gonna, that's a great analogy. If you're married and you're flirting with other women, wifey's not gonna like it, and she shouldn't like it. She's got every right to be ticked off. It's the same case with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron needed help, so what do? They drafted the guy that's going to replace him. That's Aaron Rodgers. Okay, this isn't Joe Flacco. This is Aaron Rodgers, people. And for the last 12 years, actually 13 years, they haven't put the adequate talent around him. It's sad, but it's kind of scary at this point. Where does Aaron go from here? Because listen, you want to talk about leverage. We talk about how much leverage did Deshaun Watson have with Houston, which of course, everything going on with that situation, he's lost a ton of leverage. How much leverage did Russ have with Seattle? I thought quite a bit. No quarterback, I think, in the NFL has more leverage if they were to go into this type of situation where they want it out. No quarterback would have more leverage than Aaron Rodgers. Because I mean, what's Aaron can leave Green Bay and flourish anywhere. Green Bay's going to flourish without Aaron Rodgers? No, they're not going to. And I think Jordan Love's good. As we got a comment here from on YouTube from Chris, the bad guy. Rodgers to Pitt. How would that work? Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That would be interesting. Obviously, not Green Bay. Pittsburgh would have to give up picks. They would have to move on from Big Ben, and we saw they extended Big Ben. They would have to give up. Gosh, they probably have to give up Juju. I mean, they'd have to give up a star player, multiple picks to go get Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think that's in Pittsburgh's plans. I think the teams that are in the running for this, Chicago's out. Minnesota's got a quarterback. He's not the level of Aaron Rodgers, but they do at least have a quarterback. And Detroit's not, because they're in the division. The Packers are not going to trade Aaron Rodgers within the division. But then you look at Jets. Okay, do you make that deal? Do you go get Aaron Rodgers over Zach Wilson? I say yes. If you're the 49ers, can you imagine Aaron Rodgers with that roster, with that coach? Ooh, man. But thank you for the comment, though, Chris, the bad guy. I assume you're a Steelers fan. I don't think that's in the cards because they did extend Big Ben, which I thought was a mistake. Ben looked every bit his age towards the end of the season last season after the Steelers started 11-0. They won one more game after that, a Week 16 matchup against the Colts, and they just got destroyed. I mean, absolutely. They played the worst quarter I've ever seen in a playoff game against their arch rival Cleveland Browns, and so that's why I thought it was a mistake to extend Big Ben. But listen, crazy things happen. Wouldn't be shocked if Pittsburgh were to possibly pull off a deal for Aaron Rodgers. But let me reiterate, not only do I not have a problem with Aaron Rodgers doing this, I applaud him doing this. Okay, they won't go be aggressive and get anybody. I'm going to get frustrated after a while. Yeah. I'm Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to take kindly to that. I'm not just going to be a good little soldier and go out here saying "Go Pack, go!" Right? Like I'm going to be ticked off. But I'm one of the greatest to ever do it. I personally think Aaron Rodgers is a top 10 quarterback ever, considering what he's done, his numbers. He's got a ring. He's got 3 MVPs. I mean, he's as good as it gets. I genuinely think San Francisco is a real possibility. I do, because obviously they have the third pick. If they're going to try and get Aaron Rodgers, they'll just give Green Bay all the picks they want. They'll give them all the picks that they're until their heart's content, right? They'll do anything to get this guy. Because if Aaron Rodgers is in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, who makes every quarterback work, just for context with Kyle Shanahan, since 2018, now I want you to think about this. Since 2018, Patrick Mahomes is number 1 in the NFL in passing yards per game. Okay? Number 1. You know who's number 2? Nick Mullins, the backup quarterback in San Francisco. And he's played a lot of games since, Jimmy G has missed a lot of time. But that's how great Kyle Shanahan is. He can make a guy like Nick Mullins work. I think Nick Mullins is good, but he's a backup. He's not a starter. They didn't win a lot of games with Nick Mullins, but again, it goes to show you how good Kyle Shanahan is. But you give Aaron Rodgers that. Obviously, behind him, he'd have a stacked defense when healthy. Probably the best defensive line in football that the 49ers have. You have a great secondary, a great linebacker in Fred Warner. Doesn't get enough credit for how good he really is. He's a top 3 linebacker in my view in the NFL. Then you look offensively. You got George Kittle. You got Deebo Samuel. Okay, you got Brandon Ayuk, the kid out of Arizona State they took last year. Love this guy. Think he's going to be a great player. You got Trent Williams protecting you on the offensive line, at left tackle, making a lot of money. The highest paid offensive lineman ever, deserves every penny. He's a great player. Obviously, the 49ers are great at running the football. So that's when you look at, just think about last year at the NFC Championship game, if you stacked up Green Bay's roster and Tampa's roster, and you just look at position by position. Like quarterback, I would take Brady. One game for my life, I'd take Brady, but Rodgers is obviously great. So we'll call that a draw. They're both they're both all-timers. Brady's the GOAT, but they're both all-timers. Running game, I'd take Green Bay, but still, it's Leonard Fournette's no scrub. Receiving core, Tampa Bay, not close. Right? Tight ends, Tampa Bay, not close. Okay? Offensive line, I give it to Green Bay. But then you look defensively. Secondary, Tampa Bay, not close. Linebackers, Tampa Bay, not close. Defensive line, Tampa Bay, not close. Heck, I'd say coaching, not close. What has Matt LaFleur proven in the NFL? He's never not had Aaron Rodgers as a head coach in the National Football League. So who's to say he's not Mike McCarthy, but younger? Who's to say that? What has Matt LaFleur prove with that Aaron Rodgers? We might find out this year. So that's all I got with that. So there you go. That I might have just broken a personal record there. That's 26 minutes on one topic. Look, I don't even have time to get into flipping Tim Tebow trying out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we all know only because his former college head coach, Urban Meyer, is the head coach in Jacksonville. I will say this, though, about Tim Tebow. Look, listen, Tim and I share the same faith, right? And what I love about Tim, he lives it, he walks it, he breathes it. He is authentic. He is the real deal. He's as good of a human being as you'll ever see. That being said, he was not even close to it. He wasn't a backup quarterback in the NFL. Well, he won all those consecutive games. Come on, man. Did you see the final score of those games? Did you see his numbers? He is not an NFL quarterback. But with that physique, with his size, he could have been a tight end. And so it's sad to see now. And of course, he hasn't played an NFL regular season game for 8 years. It's sad to see now that he's 33 years old, still, fairly young. Maybe he could come in and do something. I think Jacksonville will probably sign him. A, maybe sell preseason tickets. I don't know. And B, give him a shot in the roster. He'll get a shot in training camp. I don't honestly think he'll make the roster, but it's just, he really wasted an opportunity. He could have been a running back, could have been, as he's about here, he already has tried out to be a tight end, but it's sad to see. Like I said, he's a great dude, but definitely not a quarterback. And it's kind of sad that now we're, 12 years since he's been drafted by the Denver Broncos, and he's just now trying out for tight end, which I think he should have done years ago. He could have been, according to Sean Payton. Sean Payton said a year ago, we reached out to Tim Tebow to be in the role that Taysom Hill is now with the Saints. Just a gadget guy. Just he can play quarterback. He can play running back. They'll line him up in the slot. Taysom Hill, they just put him everywhere and keep the defense guessing. And Sean Payton said, we called Tim Tebow to give him this opportunity, and Tebow said no. So that's on Tim. So I'm rooting for him. I hope he does, gets the opportunity and produces in Jacksonville. But I don't think this is going to go that far. But we'll see. So let me stay with the NFL and in the draft. Of course, the draft first round of the draft kicks off in about an hour and a half, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on the NFL Network, ESPN, and ABC. It's going to be an unbelievable night. It's in Cleveland, Ohio. It is going to be really our first, if you count out UFC, really our first big crowd at a professional sports event, because 50,000 fans are going to be in Cleveland at the draft. Roger Goodell, who has been fully vaccinated, is going to be able to shake the hands of the players or hug them or do whatever the players want, to do, as they're welcome to the league. So what's great, it's gonna feel like some sense of normal. Again, I'm not even gonna try and guess on whether we'll have full stadiums by September. Listen, the new data we get with COVID, it's every day it changes. So you got to see how it develops. We just got to, listen. I'm listening to Roger Goodell. I'm not listening to the NFL. Not listening to frankly anybody. CDC. That's the health experts. This is their specialty. COVID's their specialty. Leave it to them, and then everybody else follows suit. So I'm not even going to try and guess on whether they'll have fans or not in the stadiums this upcoming season. Hopefully there is. Hopefully we can get to that point, because man, it felt weird without no fans last year. But certainly this is going to feel some sense of normal. But there are going to be, I know Trevor Lawrence, the number one overall pick, about to be the number one overall pick in an hour and a half to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to be at his house, with his family. Of course, a lot of guys do that. I think it's cool. It's like an intimate setting with the people you love. Helped you get to the point where you are. It's great. But the other guys, or at least most, if not all, of the other guys are going to be in Cleveland in the green room. There are, of course, going to be COVID restrictions. I think there's like walls separating each player's, each player and his loved ones and that sort of deal. So looking forward to it tonight. But I want to talk about the quarterbacks in this draft. And then that's, there's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen personally, but there's a possibility we could see, and this has never been done before, 5 quarterbacks taken in the first 10 picks in the top 10, which has never been done before in the history of the NFL draft. So usually, if not always, when you have this many first-round quarterbacks, you are, you're going to have like 2, maybe 3, and 3's a stretch. At least 2 that are like, okay, these guys are stars in the league. These guys are franchise quarterbacks and can take their team places and put them into championship contention. I use 2018 as an example. Okay, you had 5 quarterbacks taken. Lamar Jackson has turned out to be the best quarterback of the draft, right? He's won an MVP. He's been to the playoffs all 3 years he's been in the league, and the Ravens are a championship contender as long as they have him. Okay, Baker Mayfield has worked. Number 1 pick? Great. No, but he has been very good. Got to the playoffs last year once he was in the right system. The Browns players seem to gravitate towards him, so he's very valuable to that city and to that franchise. So Baker has worked in the NFL. Sam Darnold, it's iffy. We're going to find out this year in Carolina with a better coaching staff, better supporting cast, if he's that guy. If he's not, then he'll be labeled a bust because he was taken 3rd overall. You have Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen, superstar. Okay? You say, well, he had one great year. He was pretty good in 2019, but if you weren't talking about great years, yeah, last year was his only great year in his first 3 years. But if you look at Josh Allen, the thing that I love about him is rookie year, looks like they might have reached on Josh Allen. He might be a bust. Year 2, they get to the playoffs. Year 3, they're the 2 seed. He's the MVP discussion and has an unbelievable year. So he gets better and better, significantly better every year. So Josh Allen has obviously succeeded. Then you have Josh Rosen, who is a complete bust. So not all 5 quarterbacks in this year's draft are going to work. That's just, I hope they do. Listen, we're all rooting for them, but it's just not how it works. That's not how the draft works. So here's the quarterbacks I think are going to be stars. Guys are going to be franchise quarterbacks that are going to be, just superstars possibly. Trevor Lawrence. Now, I criticized the crap out of Trevor Lawrence for that Sports Illustrated article, or cover story, I should say, with him, his wife, his dad, and his high school coach, where it's like, yeah, Trevor could walk away from the game and be whatever. Name the all-time great that's had that mentality. I'll wait. But that's not to say he has a bad work ethic, because he obviously doesn't. That's I'm not even trying to portray that in any way, shape, or form. He is one of the 5, maybe 3 greatest quarterbacks to come out of college into the league. We knew 2 years ago who the number 1 pick in the 2021 NFL draft would be. We just didn't know where he was going 2 years ago. When Trevor Lawrence had that game against Alabama, following up another great game against Notre Dame the game prior, we're like, oh yeah, once he's eligible, number 1 pick, no doubt. And sure enough, 2 years later, he's going to go number 1 to Jacksonville. He's going to be a superstar. He's big. He doesn't get enough credit for this. He is athletic. Did y'all see that touchdown a year ago against Ohio State? I think it was like 61 yards that he ran for. He can move. So in today's NFL, as I've said a million times, and I'm going to get to another quarterback, this is going to come back to bite him. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to move. Trevor Lawrence can. He's crazy accurate, great arm. He's got it all. He's going to be a superstar without a question. Anybody who thinks Trevor Lawrence is going to be a bust, stop. Okay, the second quarterback that I think it can be a superstar and will be a franchise quarterback, Trey Lance. I think the fact that he's not going 2 overall is ridiculous. At North Dakota State, it was just North Dakota State. How many guys have played at mid-major schools and been really good? Guys like Donovan McNabb. How about a guy like Steve McNair? Plenty of guys have come from smaller schools and done great things in the NFL. You look at a guy in Trey Lance. Good size. He can really move. He ran for 1,100 yards his only year at North Dakota State. He's deadly accurate with the ball. He got a rocket for an arm. I mean, watch this kid. He can sling it. So arm strength is not going to be a problem for him. The number one question I've heard with Trey Lance is year one. Is he NFL ready? Is he NFL ready in year one? That's the number one question with Trey Lance. Don't know. I don't know. But if he's got to sit for a year, he's got to sit for a year. Mahomes had to sit for a year, and look how that's turned out. So Rodgers sat for 3, and look how that's turned out. So it's all about, if he gets the opportunity to sit for a year, I think it will be beneficial. But I think in the long run, this dude's going to turn out to be the second best quarterback to Trevor Lawrence in the draft. Then we get to the third. I think there's 3, not 2. I think there's going to be 3 quarterbacks that turn out to be, if not superstars in the league. The third, Justin Fields out of Ohio State. This is something that really matters in the NFL. Let's be honest, it means nothing in college, especially if you played at Ohio State like Justin Fields did. People say, and I'll get to Mac Jones. People say, oh, you've been critical of Mac Jones, who played at Alabama. Well, Justin Fields played at Ohio State. Let me tell you the separating factor. In college football, it's a first-read offense. If you can't go to this guy, well, then just scramble and make something happen. No, you can't do that in the NFL. You will get eaten alive as a quarterback if you do that in the NFL. Let's go next-gen stats here. Justin Fields, in all of not just the quarterbacks in this year's draft, in all of college football last year, number 1 in going to a second read. Highest completion percentage in going to a second read. Mac Jones was 8th. All in college football, it's not bad, but is significantly behind Justin Fields. He's obviously crazy athletic. He ran a 4 at his pro day. He can run, man. Okay, he's accurate with the football. I know there have been those out there criticizing his throwing motion. Man, does the ball get there? If it were like I know I just talked about it, but if it were like a Tim Tebow throwing motion where it's long and it's like a wind-up and it's low completion percentage, that's different. Justin Fields completes 70% of his passes. He's going to be fine. He can sling it. He can run. Great leadership qualities. He's mature. He's going to succeed in the NFL. I'm kind of happy that he's not going to the New York Jets because I think they could have possibly messed up his career. Now we get to the category of iffy. Iffy. And I think there's one quarterback that fits that group, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's really talented. I can see why the Jets are taking him at number 2. Okay? They've called him, since he went to BYU, they've called him the Mormon Mahomes because of how gifted he is as, have you watched I actually watched Zach Wilson live a couple of years ago. He played my Tennessee Volunteers and broke our hearts at the end, but that's neither here nor there. I don't want to talk about it. But when you watch this kid, the release point is just effortless. It's just a flick of the wrist. It's just an effortless throwing motion. So that's God-given. You don't just develop that. You just got it or you don't. And he's got it. The problem is, though, he's a little reckless. And we all know, you throw interceptions in college, you're going to throw interceptions in the NFL. See Sam Darnold. See Jameis Winston. Okay? Guys, high interception guys in college are going to be high interception guys in the NFL. Even if you're good. Like, I think Sam Darnold's going to do fairly well in Carolina. I want Jameis Winston to get a shot in New Orleans. Although reports are saying, according to Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, that the Saints are trying to trade into the top 10. So, although it might be for a defensive back, so we'll have to see how that turns out. But the point is, Zach Wilson's going to throw interceptions in the NFL. Why? He did in college. That's what I'm saying. Also, and this is where I feel bad for the kid. This is where I got into trouble last year with Joe Burrow. It's because I said with Joe Burrow, is he the number 1 pick? Yeah. Do I think he'll be the best quarterback in the draft? No. Now he was really good. He's not the best quarterback in the draft, at least through a year. Justin Herbert is. But I said about Joe Burrow is he's going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not exactly known for winning. Matter of fact, they have arguably the worst offensive line in the league, terrible defense, bad coaching staff. Zach Taylor's not the head coach for the future in Cincinnati. He's not. Just because he's friends with Sean McVay, don't make him Sean McVay. And that's why I thought Joe Burrow would really struggle. And he was great. So I was kind of half wrong and half right, depending on how you look at it. Because I was wrong in that he played really well. But I was right, unfortunately, and I wish I wasn't right on this. And this is where I think the Bengals what they need to address in the draft with the 5th overall pick. The lack of protection ended his season. First of all, even if he hadn't broke his leg, he was on pace to get sacked more than David Carr. David Carr back in 2002, he's the first ever pick of the expansion Houston Texans, and he sacked like 70 times in that season. Joe Burrow was going to surpass that because his offensive line was that bad. You look at Zach Wilson. Jets actually have a pretty good offensive line. Like, they really do. They drafted that Mekhi Becton kid last year. Love him. He's a stud. He's a good player. The Jets got better in the offseason, right? They added some guys. Robert Saleh, great hire at head coach. But the problem is the Jets have had a history of screwing up quarterbacks' careers. See Sam Darnold, see Geno Smith, see Chad Pennington, see Mark Sanchez, right? The best quarterback in Jets history, Joe Namath, right? Won a Super Bowl, Super Bowl III. Ran off the field, held up one finger. They upset. I guarantee we're going to beat the Baltimore Colts. What do you know? The Jets upset the Baltimore Colts 16-7. Joe Namath had a great career. Has a career losing record in the NFL. So the Jets are not known for developing great quarterbacks. So am I supposed to believe Zach Wilson is going to be any different? And Sam Darnold was talented. Geno Smith was talented. Chad Pennington was really talented. I think Zach Wilson is borderline really talented. I just think the fact that he's going to Jets is going to mess up his career, and it sucks. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he along with Robert Saleh can turn around the Jets' fortunes as a franchise, because that's a long-suffering fan base, long-suffering franchise. But listen, I just hope that the Jets won't have to call the Ghostbusters, because Sam Darnold saw a few of those ghosts against the New England Patriots a couple of years ago, and that was almost the beginning of the end of him in New York. So I hope that's not the same case with Zach Wilson. And then we get to the bust category. And I'm sorry, Mac Jones is going to be a bust. I'm sorry to say, I've been saying it since Alabama won the national championship game 3.5 months ago against Ohio State. I think that's when the Mac Jones hype just went through the roof. It's like, first of all, it started with he'll be a first-round pick, and I'm like, I don't think so, but it's reasonable. It's reasonable. And then it gets to top 10 pick, and I'm like, I don't know about that. And then it gets to top 3, and I think Mac Jones is going to go to the San Francisco 49ers with the 3rd overall pick. I think they would be crazy not to draft Trey Lance or go after Aaron Rodgers, if possible. But they're probably going to take Mac Jones. That's who Kyle Shanahan likes, according to multiple reports. That's probably who they're going to take. Here's the thing with Mac, and I said it last week. He's Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky was drafted, team drafted up to get him. Chicago Bears traded up one spot to get him with the 2nd overall pick. In the same draft where you had Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. And they took Mitch Trubisky. And, he played a little bit his rookie year. Okay, whatever, it's just rookie year. I'm never going to be hard on a kid if he struggles his rookie year. But then we go to year 2. And the Bears go 12-4. Trubisky plays fairly well. They make the playoffs. Heck, Trubisky was a Pro Bowler with Watson and with Mahomes. But then, after a full season of starting, defensive coordinators around the NFL had a full offseason to look at Mitch Trubisky, right? To see his clear flaws, his clear deficiencies as a starting quarterback. And he got exposed in year 3. And he got exposed last year. He played well at the end of the year, but that's what backup quarterbacks do. They can give you a few good games. They can. Ryan Fitzpatrick's made a career off that. Fitzmagic, he'll give you a game or two. But over a full season, no. And that's why he's a backup. That's why Mitch Trubisky is now a backup with the Buffalo Bills. If Mac Jones gets taken third overall by the 49ers, which I suspect that he will, I think the 49ers, if healthy, are going to make the playoffs. Win the division? No, they're not beating out Russell Wilson or Matt Stafford. Heck, I don't know if they can beat the Cardinals. I would not be shocked if all 4 teams in the NFC West made the playoffs. They're all that good. Somebody's going to get left out. If I had to bet, it would be Arizona. But I think the 49ers will make the playoffs. Right? Mac Jones, like Mitchell Trubisky, good running game. Okay? Great receiving talent. Good offensive line. Actually, San Francisco's a great offensive line. Both had outstanding defenses with outstanding defensive lines. Both have a great offensive head coach. Stop with the slander with Matt Nagy. He's a great offensive coach. He's from the Andy Reid tree, and he's never had a great quarterback. He's had Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, and Chase Daniel. All of them are backups. So give Matt Nagy a quarterback, and then we can talk about, then I want to hear about how bad of an offensive mind he is. He's great. Not Kyle Shanahan, but he is great. So they both have that in common, Mac and Mitch Trubisky. But then we go into 2022, a year from now, and defensive coordinators will have a whole offseason to figure out Mac Jones, and he'll get exposed. Now you ask Bryson, why do you say he's going to get exposed? He completed 70% of his passes at Alabama. He went undefeated, threw 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, had a great year. Of course, the numbers speak for themselves. He had a great year. At one point, he threw to not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 first-round NFL wide receivers. Devontae Smith, one of those receivers, he messed around and won the Heisman. So he was the best player in college football last year. Okay? And here's the thing, too, about Mac, is when you look at the number, you can look up the numbers right now. Okay, Tom Brady, who is not mobile whatsoever, like he's the only good immobile quarterback in the NFL. Jared Goff, up and down. Right? Jimmy Garoppolo can't stay healthy and up and down. Right? The immobile quarterbacks that can't extend plays outside of Brady, they struggle. Big Ben can't move anymore. He struggles. Phillip Rivers last year couldn't move. He struggled. Even the most accurate thrower of the football ever, Drew Brees, struggled. Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback ever, immobile, right? Under pressure, he's 30th. He's the 30th best quarterback in the NFL. And I've said that for a year. Like, that's the one criticism of Brady that I have as far as his play, is that he is awful under pressure. He throws bad interceptions. He's inaccurate. He feels the pressure more than any quarterback in the league. He's the 30th best quarterback under pressure in the NFL. You know who's the best quarterback under pressure, under duress? Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray. What do these guys have in common? They can move. Mac Jones can't move. Did you watch his pro day? He can't move. He's not mobile. So that's what I'm saying with him is Trevor Lawrence, and I'm telling you, this has gone under the radar. I've said it for a year. This kid can move, okay? He can take off and run if he absolutely has to, right? He can extend plays. Trey Lance definitely can. Justin Fields can, right? Zach Wilson can. Mac Jones can't. I mean, he just can't. Take me, Alabama fans, if you're out there. Show me a play from last year where Mac Jones is running around and makes a play. It didn't happen. I mean, it didn't. And so I don't see how a guy who's immobile has, he does have a DUI on his resume. That does matter. He's under duress, he's not good. So you think he's good at the NFL under duress? No. He played in an SEC that was surprisingly down, like outside of Florida, who had a surprisingly bad defense, and Georgia, and of course Alabama, where that was national champions. Everybody, and Texas A&M was really good too, but Bama crushed them. Everybody in the SEC was kind of down last year. Auburn wasn't that great. LSU, the defending national champions, they were under 500. Ole Miss wasn't very good. Tennessee wasn't very good. Kentucky Missouri wasn't very good. So he didn't have to deal with the kind of talent in the SEC, the kind of top tier teams that most SEC quarterbacks on a normal basis would. That's what I'm saying. It is the bottom line. Is he going to go third overall? It appears so. Should he? No, I don't even think he's a top 10 pick. I don't. So that's all I'm saying is how am I supposed to believe a guy who's immobile, right? Can't move in the pocket, average arm. I don't know anything really about his leadership qualities. I don't think he's a bad leader. But what do you hear about Trey Lance? Great leader. He's mature. He takes over the room with his presence, right? You look at, Trevor Lawrence. Clemson guys love Trevor Lawrence. Okay, what do they say about Justin Fields? His teammates and coaches can't say a bad word about him. They love him. That's why I thought the slander created by some analysts, and we all know who I'm talking about, was just outlandish. It was ridiculous. So I genuinely don't see how he succeeds in the NFL. That's why I think he's a bust. It's that in a little more than an hour, a little over an hour, because the NFL draft will kick off. Roger Goodell will get booed by actual fans. I saw an interview with Commissioner Goodell on Good Morning America. He said he's looking forward to it. It's going to feel normal again. So that's great. Let's see what else we got. Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me get to this. I'll get to Jimmy Garoppolo to finish the show. Let me talk about Dr. J, Julius Erving, one of the 20 greatest players in NBA history. But why do older NBA players do this? And with all due respect, they played against great players. Players today play against great players. Every era has great players. But Dr. J, man, he was on a show, might have been a podcast, with a great NBA insider. And he was talking about, he said, put together, Chris Haynes asked, okay, put together your best, of all the greatest players, of all the players in the history of the NBA, put together your first team and your second team. Okay, first of all, LeBron didn't make the first team. That's a crime in itself. Second of all, LeBron didn't make a second team, and Jordan was on the second team. The greatest player ever, Michael Jordan, was on his second team. His second team. And that's, let's see, as we have another comment from Chris, the bad guy. Careful. Yeah, I'm not real sure what careful is supposed to mean. I'm let's see. LeBron doesn't belong anywhere near anything. Oh, come on, man. Come on. He's going to be all-time leader in scoring, top 10 in assists, 4 titles, possibly about to be 5. Let's see. He's got the most buzzer beaters in NBA playoff history. So, the notion that he's not clutch is ridiculous. But here we go. Here's the point. Here's what Julius Erving said. He said, when you look at LeBron and anybody he sort of picks with him, he played with so many guys. He's the guy who has led the charge in terms of super teams being put together. When he put together the super team in Miami, he put together that team in Cleveland as well and put together a team in Los Angeles. Okay? So he can pick his own team. I'm not going to pick his team. I'm not saying nothing bad about LeBron. Well, you kind of did. And by the way, Julius Erving, oh God, I hate this notion so bad that LeBron invented super teams. Here's what LeBron did do. He invented the player-created super teams. Super teams have been going around the NBA for, about 65 years. Going back to the 50s with the Celtics, with Bill Russell. Right? I mean, that team was just loaded with Hall of Famers. Loaded. Okay? You look at Julius Erving played on a super team, by the way. Like, Julius Erving says LeBron invented super teams. Julius Erving played on a team with 5 Hall of Famers, 4 of them in their primes. So he was obviously a Hall of Famer, great all-timer. But in 81-82, okay, the 76ers got to the NBA Finals, and they lost. What did they do? They went out and they added Moses Malone, one of the best players ever. So that team consists, let me have the list right here. So that team had Dr. J, Moses Malone, Mo Cheeks, and Andrew Toney, and Bobby Jones at the end of his career, and Bobby Jones was a Hall of Famer. Does that sound like a super team to you? Heck, they have more Hall of Famers than I think Golden State had a couple years ago. So, the Celtics in the 80s with Bird, McHale, Robert Parrish. You look at the Lakers with Magic and Kareem. The Lakers had 2 of the 5 best players ever on one team, Magic and Kareem. You had Worthy, right? You had great players come off the bench. You look at the Shaq-Kobe Lakers. Obviously Shaq and Kobe. You had, Derek Fisher, one of the better point guards in postseason history. You look at the Spurs, who had 3 Hall of Famers with Duncan, Parker, Ginobili. They added Kawhi Leonard later on. Okay, you look at the Celtics, the Big Three Celtics. Paul Pierce, Hall of Famer. Kevin Garnett, Hall of Famer. Ray Allen, Hall of Famer. So the Bulls back in the 90s, super team. Jordan, best player ever. Pippen, arguably the greatest perimeter wing defender ever. Dennis Rodman, greatest rebounder ever. Phil Jackson, greatest coach ever. Tony Kukoc, one of the best Europeans ever. Steve Kerr, one of the greatest shooters ever. Whew, that was a lot. The point is, though, LeBron did not invent the super team. This notion that he did is just straight up false. He didn't just invent the super team. He invented the player-created super team, which obviously I have no problem with. If you want to go and team up with your friends and win championships, man, who's not? Why would you want to be left out to dry in Cleveland? In Cleveland, why would you heard what Joakim Noah said a decade ago about Cleveland? He's like, hey, are you going on vacation in Cleveland? Are you take your kids, putting them, in the van and saying, let's go to Cleveland. Cleveland's a great city, but no, you're not. You're not going to Cleveland, Ohio. And so LeBron's like, I don't have an all-star. I don't have anywhere near a great coach. The owner and I have a beef. I got to get out of here. And he goes to Miami, which is a well-run team with Dwayne Wade. They add Chris Bosh, of course, and they win championships. So just this notion, he's played with great players. Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever, played with great players. Larry Bird played with great players. Magic Johnson did. Kareem did. Okay? It's just the notion that today's NBA is just so vastly different in that, in that particular category as far as super teams. The fact that it's just so different from the previous 60 years or whatever of the NBA is just false. It's ridiculous. The NBA has always had super teams. Always. And so with all due respect to Dr. J, one of the greatest, one of the 20 greatest, maybe one of the 15 greatest players in NBA history. Okay, one of the 5 best players of the 80s. In the 80s had Jordan, Magic, Bird. Okay, Dr. J was probably the 4th best player in the 1980s. Or 5th if you count Charles Barkley. Great player. But he's out of his mind with this one. He's to not put LeBron in the top 5. And by the way, something else, and this happens with every era, a big reason the Celtics won 11 championships in 13 years with that super team back in the 50s and 60s, obviously they had Bill Russell, who's one of the greatest defensive players ever. They had, Red Auerbach, one of the 5 best coaches ever. They had Casey Jones, rest in peace, great point guard. They had, great players around Bill Russell. Part of the reason they won so many championships is because there wasn't that much talent in the league compared to them. The talent gets better and better and better as we go. So this thing like, oh, LeBron didn't have the same competition as Jordan. Have you seen the talent in today's NBA? You got Kevin Durant, who's a 7-foot monster, can do anything he wants offensively. You have Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. You got Giannis, who's the most dominant player in the paint since Shaq. You got Steph Curry, the greatest shooter anybody has ever seen. Okay, you've got great defensive players who are stars. Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons. So the LeBron slander's got to stop. This is why LeBron said after the Lakers won the finals last year, I want my D respect. That's why he said that. So I want my respect. Okay, look what I've done in my career. Look what I've done. Give me my respect. I've said it on this show. If LeBron comes back from this ankle injury and with this Lakers team that does not look very good at all, even with Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond, looks just don't even look like a playoff team. If LeBron takes this Lakers team and they go to the finals and they meet up against the Brooklyn Nets and he wins this series, I'm going to call him the greatest player of all time. Jordan did never have to go through a team like that. Because at that point, what you would say about LeBron in his 5 finals wins, you would say, okay, he beat the OKC Thunder with KD, Westbrook, and Harden, albeit they were babies, right? They were young players, okay? But then he goes and beats the Spurs the next year with Tim Duncan, Parker, Ginobili and a young Kawhi Leonard. You look at his third ring, he beat the 73-9 Warriors, coming back from a 3-1 deficit, and that still hurts my heart as a Warriors fan to this day. He beats the Heat in last year's finals. Okay, that's that team doesn't compare to the other three. But if he beats this Brooklyn team this year with KD, Harden, Kyrie, I'm calling him the greatest player ever. I got to do it. I got to do it. Who did Jordan play in the finals that was this good? Utah? Utah was great. Stockton, Malone, they weren't this good. They were this good. They were as good as the 73-9 Warriors. The Popovich-led Spurs. Right? This Brooklyn team, they weren't that good. That's all I'm saying. Just give LeBron his respect, man. Come on. We gotta stop this LeBron slander now. And I actually don't think LeBron's the best player in the NBA. So I'm not your classic, I love LeBron. His fans get on my last nerves. You know what I'm saying? So I promise I'm not one of those guys who's just, doesn't think LeBron's ever done a bad thing ever. He's not perfect. None of us are perfect. But I'm just telling you, what he's done in his career, Dr. J's got to give this man his respect. Charles Barkley's got to give this man his respect. Hall of Famers got to put some respect on LeBron James' name. That's all I'm saying. So last topic before we go. Again, the draft kicks off in now less than an hour. We're at 7:01 Eastern, 4:01 Pacific time. It is going to be a fun night in the NFL draft. I can't wait for it. You got the Aaron Rodgers news. You got the quarterbacks. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. By the way, the Cowboys need to take Patrick Surtain. End of story. Let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, who is, according to reports, likely to get traded possibly tonight, if not over the weekend. And so a tweet came out last night. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's see. Well, crap, I can't find the tweet. Well, that's unfortunate. Point is, basically the New England Patriots are looking to trade. They are looking to sign Jimmy G to a contract extension after they trade for him. So we all know how that saga went down in New England back in 2017. Is despite Tom Brady at the age of 40 years old, coming off of the game that cemented him as the GOAT, of course, the 28-3 comeback against the Falcons. Coming off that game, Brady was having, right in the midst of what would end up to be an MVP season, Bill Belichick wanted to trade Tom Brady. And Bob Kraft, who rarely steps into the lane of Belichick and says no to Belichick, he's like, hold on, man. We're not trading Tom Brady. And Belichick, out of spite, just gave Jimmy G to the 49ers. He's like, okay, just give me a second-round pick and you can have Jimmy Garoppolo. And Kyle Shanahan's like, thank you very much. And 2 years later, the 49ers, with Jimmy Garoppolo, were a throwaway on a post route to Emmanuel Sanders from winning the Super Bowl. So 2 years later from that great 2019 season, or really a year and a half later, the 49ers apparently are done with Jimmy G. Of course, we found that out when they traded up to get that third pick. I would not trade Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Okay, I don't, whether it's Mac Jones, whether it's Trey Lance, whether it's Justin Fields, whoever they take at the quarterback position with the third pick, I would make this a 2017 Kansas City Chiefs situation. What's the 2017 Chiefs, you ask? Well, they took Patrick Mahomes with the 10th overall pick, and they had Alex Smith. Now, the Chiefs coaches loved Patrick Mahomes. But what did Andy Reid say? Let's give him a year. Learn the playbook. Sit behind a good veteran quarterback in Alex Smith. Alex going to get us to the playoffs. Only so far we can go with him because he's not what this kid's going to be. But let him sit for a year, soak in the information from a good veteran quarterback in Alex Smith, a great offensive coach in Andy Reid, and then next year, here we go. And that's what they did. They went with Alex Smith. They won the division. And, of course, they lost to the Titans in the playoffs. And so they traded Alex Smith away to Washington. They gave the keys to the franchise to Mahomes, and I think that's worked out pretty swell. So this is what I do if I'm San Francisco, regardless who they pick. Keep Jimmy Garoppolo for a season or until he gets hurt, and then trade him. Do what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith. Play Jimmy Garoppolo for a year. Jimmy Garoppolo is your starting quarterback in 2021. Okay. He can get you to the playoffs if he's healthy. Again, that's a big if. And if he gets hurt, you can just put the rookie quarterback in. But if he does stay healthy, you can make the playoffs, see how far you go, then trade him away, give the keys to your franchise to rookie, who at that point will be a second-year player. And so, the question is, will New England make this deal? I don't think they will. I actually think the New England Patriots are going to wind up with Justin Fields. I do. I think they're going to trade up with Dallas New England's got the 15th overall pick. Dallas is the 10th. I think New England's going to trade with Dallas, get to the 10th pick, take Justin Fields, and go with that. They're going to have, so at that point, they'll have Cam Newton and Justin Fields. And at that point, Justin Fields can learn behind a good veteran quarterback in Cam Newton. But so that's why I wouldn't trade Garoppolo if I were the 49ers and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I wouldn't. I think you could still win games with him and still develop the young guy. Like that's what I would do if I were San Francisco, but we just got to see what happens there. So with that is all the time we have for today's show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to catch Carving It Up tomorrow. As always, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm going to have Mike Guido, draft expert, going to have him on the show to discuss whatever we'll see tonight in the first round, as well as what to expect in rounds 2 through 7. Looking forward to the show. Going to be on my man Ryan Flowers' show, Clutch Sports Talk, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you're watching the show now live. Going to be on a show tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, during the draft, reacting to the picks. So looking forward to that. So be sure to catch his show, and be sure to catch my show tomorrow. And hope everybody has a great evening. Enjoy the draft. Please continue to stay safe. God bless you all, and peace out.